I'm going to prepare you a H1 sample answer for the Bioprocessing and Enzymes project that was just released. Hi, my name is Andrew Cussen. I'm here at Dublin Academy of Education, and we're going to take a look at the Biology and Practice Investigation for the Leaving Certificate Biology course. So just taking a quick look at our additional assessment component, which is also known as the Biology and Practice Investigation. Our assessment layout here clearly states that our final exam is worth 60%, whereas our project is worth 40%. We've just been given a sample brief that we can take a look at, and we're going to analyze that to take a look at what we need to know for our project next year. So here are our project requirements. Your project must be typed, you must put into a PDF form, and you must also provide a printed form of your project for submission. The font needs to be Arial at size 12, but headings can be up to a size of 14. There needs to be 1.5 spacing between each of your sentences, and it's a 1500 word max count. As well as that, you have a maximum of 20 images. These images do not include your formulae. So any formulas that you might use in your data analytics can be separate to this, and you can include them as part of your project. This must be followed, and this is really strictly laid out in our sample brief. Taking a look at the overall structure of our project, we've been given 7 headings that we need to follow. Our first heading is all about our title and our introduction to our project. So this gives us a quick idea of what our project is about, what we're investigating, what it might be like writing about in the actual project itself. Then you have your background research, which will be taking a look at some of your literature, such as articles and use of AI, and any other kind of material that you can find that will support your overall data collection. The next thing you have is your designing and planning. This is a really important step. This is where you're going to outline the method for your experiment, taking a look at what you need to take a look at. It'll be identifying your hypothesis, these kind of essential components for designing your experiment. You will then conduct your experiment, taking into account safety, taking into account your variables, so independent versus dependent variables. This will primarily be your primary data collection point. You can bring in secondary data, but you have to make sure you have primary data in this project. Then you'll have your data and data analytics. In this section, you will use the data you've collected and interpret it. You're going to take an opportunity to use comparative analysis, so you can use some mathematical formulas. You're going to be using some graphing techniques, a lot of stuff that you would see in the nature science as part of your written exam. You will then lead up to your conclusions, where you'll take a look at what you've actually learned in this project, what has been found out, was it in line with your hypothesis, do you accept, reject, or do you need to change the hypothesis? Finally, your referees or your bibliography. This is a really important section. You need to make sure you reference throughout your project. You'll have a lot of references in the background research, and they all need to be included in this section at the very end. So you need to make sure you follow the exact format that's expected by the SEC for marking. So one of the most important parts of this project is taking a look at the marks. We know that this project is worth 200 marks, which is 40% of your overall grade. Now, your marks are broken down into 4 sections. Each of these are worth 50 marks in total, so A down as far as D, and this is available on the sample brief. So taking a look at the first one, the marks in this section are going towards your title introduction, your background research, and your references. They're looking for you to give a detailed approach for your title, introduction, and research. You need to make sure you reference, so following the standard the SEC wants. You also will be getting marks towards your hypothesis and evaluation of secondary data, or any secondary data you may use in your project. The next section is taking a look at B. This is also worth 50 marks. This is all about your experimental process. So it's the design and planning of your actual experiment, how you conducted that experiment, taking into account fairness and safety, taking into account accuracy and equipment that you will have used in the actual experiment itself. Okay, the next one that we're going to take a look at is C. Again, this is also worth 50 marks. This section takes a look at data analysis, and your conclusions. This is one of your most important sections because this is all about your primary data. So it's linking up with your actual experiment. This is one that the SEC are definitely going to be leaning into a lot. They're really going to be focusing on the marks in this section. So there's a clear output as to what they are looking for. They're looking for you to actually display your data. So using tables, using graphs. Your data analytics is really, really important here. So this is any formulas that you may use as part of your project. This will be all about comparative analysis. You can compare your qualitative and quantitative data. Again, big focus on primary data, but you can draw on some of the conclusions from secondary data as well in this section. But again, the biggest focus is your primary data, so your actual experiments in this section. Our last section is D, and this is also worth 50 marks, and this takes a look at scientific literacy. This is all about your communication, your relevance, and relating this idea to existing knowledge. This will be taking a look at your project as a whole and how you've actually communicated it to the reader. They will also be looking for a reflective component in this. So again, as you come to the final parts of our project, especially with the conclusion, we want to make sure we reference what we've actually learned in our project and how it can be brought forward into today's world. So collectively, this is worth 200 marks, 40% of your overall grade, 50 marks per section. So the final things I'm going to talk about is just the deadline itself. Now, we've been told that our project will be released in January of the 5th year. So in the coming months, you'll actually get the project brief that you will carry out for your Leaving Cert. This deadline is the 26th of February 2027. Now, this is a provisional date. It could change, but that's what the SEC have said for the moment. What they have given us as well is a sample, which is about bioprocessing and enzymes. Now, this is quite similar to what some of us would have done in the past with coursework B in the old junior cycle or the old junior cert. And this is also very similar to what we carry out in Australia with assessments with our younger year groups. With that in mind, I'm going to prepare you a H1 sample answer for the Bioprocessing and Enzymes project that was just released. Use that as a guide to help you become familiar with this particular layout, which will help you obtain that top grade next year.